Auburn. Since 1995, Alabama's sports talk leader, Tiger Communications, proudly presents SportsCall. It's time to join our SportsCall crew as they discuss the latest headlines and happenings around Auburn and the entire sports world. To be part of the show, give us a call at 334-887-3401 locally or toll free at 1-888-9-TIGER-9. We're taking phone calls all show long and want to talk about whatever you've got on your mind. And now, coming to you live from the loveliest village on the plains, Auburn's first and Auburn's favorite sports talk show, SportsCall.
Welcome, Auburn, into the Thursday edition of SportsCall, live on Tiger 95.9, the Tiger.fm, and the Tiger Communications app. My name is Ryan Lavoie, the host of the program. Today, I am joined by Tom Peavy and by Jack Myrick for the full 3 hours, as this is our final day from SEC Media Days 2026 in Tampa, Florida. So glad to be with you here once again. We've got another packed show for you here this afternoon. Coming up at 3:30, you're going to hear from Peter Raudikus, the AL.com reporter for Auburn, who we were very pleased to be talking to for the first time yesterday. That's going to play at 3:30. 4 o'clock today, Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast. He will talk to us about Auburn and about the rest of the Southeastern Conference. At 4:30 today, Connor O'Gara of the OG Kickoff in the next round will join us. Had a good, lengthy chat with him. 5:05 today, Brandon Marcello of CBS Sports joins the program. And at 5:40 today, the interview we were not able to play yesterday because we had Ryan McGee hop on live, Justin Ferguson of the Auburn Observer will join us. So we've got another packed show lineup for you here today. We'll do something similar to what we did yesterday, where we have that last segment of the show be an interview so we can get to packing up here from Digital Drive. But going to be a fun show. We can squeeze in a few phone calls as always. But again, it's a little bit bittersweet to be at the end of this ride here in Tampa on this Thursday. Again, Ryan, Tom, and Jack with you here this afternoon. Tom Peavy, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. And, it is bittersweet. It's always bittersweet when you look around and you see everybody packing their stuff up. You know, folks that we've seen set up all week. We've had CBS Sports has had a whole camera setup, stage setup basically, right in front of us, and they're tearing it down and seeing other radio people tearing their stuff down. It's like, man, it's actually about to be over. Now, we still got a show to get through, so, we're going to do it. But, yeah, man, it's been a great, great week here in Tampa. Great venue. I've loved the venue, and we've had some bad ones, and this has been a good one. Good venue, great city, a lot of stuff going on. I definitely would not mind Media Days coming back to Tampa sometime. But, going to be sad to see it get over with, and we have to pack up and get ready to start making our way back to Auburn and back to real life, I guess you could say, come next week.
Jack Myrick, how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing fine. Tired, ready to be tired more tomorrow on that car ride home. But yeah, it's been a fun week. A lot of great interviews that we have in store for all our listeners. So many good ones that we've got. We were talking about that earlier during our snack break about just who really stood out to us. And, I mean, JJ just kept listing them off and off and off. He just had so many to name, which is good. That's really good. As JJ's mentioned before being on the show and stuff, is, we'll make sure to get all that content out on our socials at SportsCall AU, and you can find us on YouTube right now. This whole week we've been broadcasting, and all our interviews will go up there. And Facebook Live, you can find a lot of great stuff. So, it's been a content-filled week.
Yes, it has. Again, as Jack mentioned, broadcasting live right now on Facebook Live and on YouTube. Trying this out this week. We've gone Facebook Live before, also trying out, though, the YouTube thing this week, so hope everyone's been able to tune in there visually. Still time to do that here on today's program. Of course, this is also being made possible by our great sponsors here this week, including United Auto Collision, where from minor dents to major collision repairs, United Auto Collision and their experienced team is committed to getting your vehicle looking like new again. When accidents happen, trust the professionals at United Auto Collision and by Auburn Repro Graphics. Whether you need blueprints, banners, signs, business cards, or high-quality printing for your business, Auburn Repro Graphics delivers a professional result with hometown service. Think Auburn Repro Graphics for all your printing needs. But we'll get to a phone call here in just a second. Again, our first interview of the day coming up around 3:30 with Peter Raudikus. But, today was a busier day than I think your average Thursday. Yes, people are finally starting to pack up, but usually this packing up has been long done, and usually we're already down to a couple handfuls of stations. That is not the case, and that is because you had two really huge ones today, LSU in the morning and Coach Lane Kiffin, and this afternoon you've had Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns. And, of course, this morning, I went into the main media area where Lane Kiffin kept talking and talking and talking. And, usually you do talk a lot because you get a mix of an introduction speech and questions. Lane Kiffin set the record today for the longest opening statement, going 18 of the 30 allotted minutes. Oh, wow. And I quite frankly thought he had a couple more minutes in him. But pretty clear that Lane did not want to take many questions. I think 4 total questions were gotten off to Lane Kiffin today, and that was a tone setter, and I can't say I'm very surprised by that.
So it was a very long Lane train.
It was a very long Lane train, yes.
But I mean, it's the Lane Kiffin circus, and I mean, we all kind of expected. I don't know if everybody expected 18 minutes, but Lane Kiffin's a talker.
Let's go look at Call Sheet or something, see what they're. Yeah, I'm sure there was a line for it.
Probably, but Lane Kiffin's a talker, and there's a lot to talk about with everything that went on with him leaving Ole Miss, go to LSU. And he wants to talk about his team. He wants to talk about I don't know if he necessarily wants to talk about the situation of leaving so much, but he's trying to build up his team, and it's a team that could challenge for some good stuff this year. So I'm sure he had a lot to get off his chest, and, good on him. I mean, the media wants to hear from him, and they got to.
Yeah, again, they certainly were going to pepper him with questions about the leave from Ole Miss, and there was still 1 or 2 about that, but again, out of 4 questions, you're not going to guarantee you get the wide range of topics that you're looking for, and Lane wanted it that way. But again, as you said, it is very circus-like, and we say that because a circus can be both positive and a negative, right? When something's a circus, it can sometimes feel disorganized or very eventful for a negative way, but also sometimes the circus is very fun. And, that's kind of been the Lane Kiffin experience, at least the latter half of his career. I mean, I guess it was always a negative circus in his early days, but now that he's been more productive with his time, particularly at Ole Miss, it's like, well, there's some good in there, but you're also dealing with a lot. And one of the interesting things he said today was that he has been off social media for 2 months now. And it's funny how it came about because his son Knox challenged him to do it and said, Dad, you won't stop using social media. And he has. And even Commissioner Sankey said he'd like to hug Knox Kiffin for that because Lane sometimes just does too much. So, I'm never going to tell you that Lane has matured to the point where, we can kind of have a normal experience. But I will say that there's some sort of attempt and maybe real recognition there that some of the things need to calm down a little bit, that there needs to be a focus on winning in Baton Rouge. And because if they don't win big, and I mean big, if they don't eventually win a national championship, I don't see how people in Baton Rouge will view the tenure as a success. He could go to the playoffs a bunch of times, but they're not paying him away from a school he already took to the playoff technically. They're not paying him to not go and win a national championship at a place that 3 coaches out of the last 4 have won one.
You don't know how they recover from that. Like, it's just how much they have to pay Brian Kelly, and if the Lane Kiffin experience doesn't work out, that's going to be very chaotic after that. Because then, obviously the landscape of coaching for college football changes so much each and every year, where you'll have guys pop up and be like, this guy needs to get a head coaching. This guy, is really good. Or the next year they'll have a fall off year, and it's like, oh, well, dodge the bullet there, but. For Kiffin, he can't afford that. LSU can't afford that, and it's something that they have to be in that title contention. Like this year, they have to bring in like a quarterback like Sam Levitt. He's coming off injury, but still a guy that's been at his peak. One of the better quarterbacks of college football, and I think you pair him with a guy like Lane Kiffin, who's gotten some really good quarterback play out of his quarterbacks. You'd expect you're going to be in that conversation by the end of the year. Be in the conversation of like seeing your name pop up in that playoff committee room.
Yeah, it's national championship or bust. I mean, that, like you said, they're not paying him this wad of money to not win a championship. They're not going to just be satisfied with playoffs. It's national title. Can they do it? I don't know. I mean, obviously he's going to have all the resources at the tip of his fingers, and that's, NIL with players. That's if there's anything to do with facilities, anything else that they could possibly do to Tiger Stadium. I mean, if there's anything that Lane Kiffin wants, they're probably going to give it to him. And so then there is no excuse. It is national title or bust. I don't know how long they're going to give him to get to that level, but they're very happy, as they probably should be. But it's in Lane Kiffin's court now. He's going to have to make sure that he gets it done.
Yeah, and look, even on the personal side for him, he mentioned that, Knox is playing at the high school that basically practices right on LSU's campus. And so he's seeing his son in the mornings practice and that sort of thing. So, he gets that personal aspect of it, and that's why it checked so many boxes for him to be there. And, again, it is always going to be a little bit befuddling on the surface. You're going to say that, Ole Miss was already in the playoff because of him. Why was that not enough? And I think he cited today that LSU's already gotten as many 5-stars just since he's been there in 7 or 8 months than he did his entire time at Ole Miss. And that is one of the reasons he will point to and say, no, this is why I still made the jump. There's still a higher level of talent to be gotten, and I was not getting it at Ole Miss. Let's go ahead and grab a phone call here since we got Peter Raunicus coming up in about 15 minutes. 334-887-3401 locally or toll-free 1-888-9-TIGER-9. First up today,
TP from Orlando.
TP joins us. TP, how are you doing today?
Well, it's great to have Sports Call in the Sunshine State. I think you guys should make it a permanent thing, in my humble opinion, although I know the bill from the Marriott would be outrageous at that point. But how are you guys enjoying Tampa Bay? Well, Ryan, I know that you are a former Buccaneers season ticket holder, but how have you boys been enjoying Tampa so far?
I've enjoyed it. I've probably been able to do a little bit more than some of these guys. I went and ate dinner and sang karaoke with a bunch of the media last night in Ybor City, and I went to Clearwater Beach and went to Madeira Beach, and I've kind of seen some of the sights, and so I've enjoyed it. It seems like a great town. It's a town I'd love to come back and visit sometime.
Well, I hope Media Days does come back. I heard you say that in the opening, Tom, and I know you boys are just thrilled to drive down I-4 eventually again. It's a spectacle. I hope you guys can avoid it. But I want to talk about football. Thankfully, we're getting closer to football season, and I got some news that just broke my heart a few days ago. One of my friends texted me, and they said, do you want to watch Week 0 together? I said, of course I want to watch Week 0 together. They said, that's on the 29th. For the past 4 months, I have been under the assumption that Week 0 was going to be on the 22nd. Oh. And I fell to my knees at work. I fell to my knees, and I was just devastated. But now you guys know Week 0 is on the 29th at my expense.
Had to add 7 more days to the counter there.
Yeah. 7 grueling days, might I add.
Yeah, you can't pay for the extra little pre-order like you get college football early for the video game.
Yeah, best extra money of my life, I must admit. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about is SEC football, and most importantly, I want to talk about something that's very popular at this time of year, the summertime topics, and that is the hot seat. And I want to talk about a team that never really gets discussed on this program, and that is the South Carolina Gamecocks. Now, Shane Beamer, this is, I believe, his 5th or 6th year going in. I believe it's his 5th year. And it feels like he's now kind of in limbo. It feels like maybe he has reached a proverbial ceiling, and they've had a lot of close games, but they've also had some games that they probably could have been a little bit closer, and they just get waxed out of the building. And my question is this it for Shane Beamer? This is a really good. It's supposed to be a good team with good talent. He's gotten some good players. He's gotten some pretty high recruits, like a handful of 5-stars, and he's got some good talent. But Ryan, if this team, if South Carolina, if they go 6-6, do you think the Gamecocks make a change at head coach, even though, in my opinion, unless I see something else, this is, once again, probably going to be a weak head coaching market?
It probably will be. I think it's fair to point that out. I think, though, that in this day and age, when I think there's more possibilities than ever right now because there's more ways to acquire players than ever. And I think that if South Carolina were to go 6-6 again, I think they'd have to move on. Shane is 33-30 after 5 years at South Carolina, and South Carolina knows that while it's not one of the upper echelon programs in the league, it can be really solid. Obviously, Steve Spurrier proved that, and a couple of the Shane Beamer years have proved that. I mean, the first 12-team playoff, South Carolina was just a few spots from making it with freshman version of Lenore's Sellers. So I don't subscribe to that they have to think that 6-6 is okay for them. And they blow. You mentioned some of the games they blew last year, like the Texas A&M debacle, and then you look at their schedule again this year. And you see the likes of Georgia and Texas A&M again, and Oklahoma and Alabama again, and you think of yourself, man, they're probably losing all those games. You throw in a Tennessee and at Florida, a Clemson, like this could go south on them. So I think that if they're around 500 there, I think they'll have no choice to move on. I think Shane is very charismatic. I think he's energetic. I think he'll get another shot again one day. But this has been too much of a seesaw affair for him, and ultimately he's still been a 500 coach in 5 seasons.
I agree. I mean, I just feel like, has it really been, like you said, it has gotten close, but it feels more like the Will Muschamp era right now than it has ever before. It just feels kind of stagnant, and you don't want that for your program. Stagnant. It grows bugs and water. That's what they say at least. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm a little sleep deprived. Anyway, my next question for the hot seat is, Ryan, you'll get a kick out of this because you are an ACC. You have ACC running through those veins like SEC blood as well. But is there a hotter seat in college football right now than Mike Norvell? And my question to you, because I have a feeling I would bet probably minus 500 that there isn't a seat higher. Does he make it out of October is my next question.
Well, we'll have to check the schedule on that. I think that ultimately, yes, he is the hottest seat in the country. I think there's an honorable mention to Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. But yes, I think that Norvell was someone that we all expected to be fired this past season and was not. Look,
I think there's an honorable mention for your guy Bill Belichick as well.
He's not on that level. I assure you, he's not on that level. Because I don't think North Carolina would fire him unless they went another 3-9. If they went 5-7 or 6-6, I think they would say that's progress. I think you're talking about Bill being much older and will he be willing to do this again? But I don't think that they're on the same level in terms of the university wanting to fire them. Florida State, again, they'll beat New Mexico State on your very cherished Week 0 TP. And then after that, SMU, who should be one of the better teams in the league, they should not beat Alabama this year, I would not think, in Tuscaloosa. Central Arkansas, then Virginia. We'll see where Tony Elliott's at after the Renaissance last year. They then have Louisville and Miami, though. So I think you're referring to that October 24th bye week, TP, because Miami, Louisville, Alabama, and SMU are all capable, and maybe Virginia, are all going to be capable enough to beat them. So if they go into that thing with 3 or 4 losses at Florida State, I don't see why they do not pull the plug at that point, and that's kind of my expectation.
So you think he's a dead man walking?
I do.
In short.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You know what? I would have to agree. I don't know how many of those games they win. I don't know how many games Ashton Daniel is better than to win those games, but hey, that's why they play them. The games aren't played on a piece of paper.
Sure.
So I have one last question because I know you guys have, you have your guests and it's going to be a busy day for you guys. So my final question for you guys is a fun one, summertime topic, is now that there's a group of 6, let me ask you guys, group of 6, if you could pick for the 12-team playoff, who will represent the group of 6 in the college football playoff this December, in your opinion? Now, I know it's hard to predict the group of 6, so feel free to be wrong. Feel free to throw Troy out there. I don't care. But I look forward to hearing what you have to say. You guys have a great time in Tampa. Please drive safely home. The traffic is awful in my state. After all, I know Ryan knows that very well. So please drive safe. Have a great day. And War Damn Eagle, boys. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday.
Appreciate it, TP. A War Eagle to you also. That's TP from Orlando joining us on the Sports Call phone line. Look, I will be interested, and this is not at any one team. I mean, if you want to market Boise State or somebody, fine. Right. I'm interested to see what the perception of the Pac-12 is. I mean, I'm at least pleased that everyone has immediately put them in the group of 6 and not been tempted to say, oh, is this back to a Power 5 question mark? No, it is not. They are clearly more of a league akin to the AAC than they are to even the Big 12 or the ACC. So I think that I want to see how that league is viewed. Your top American contenders the last few years all lost their coaches, whether you're talking about Tulane, you're talking about Memphis, you're talking about South Florida. Like these programs, even North Texas, who won 10 games this year, sees Eric Morris go to Oklahoma State. So it's kind of hard to know. Well, these are all going to be new situations and a bunch of new coaches. And, you know, my instant reaction is that someone out of the AAC would transpire. If you even wanted to go out of the Sun Belt and James Mad, Kurt Signetti leaves, and then Bob Chesney comes in, and he takes them to the playoff last year. Now Bob Chesney's gone. So you're just dealing, and that's always going to be the problem with the group of 6. You take someone in the playoff, you're probably gone yourself to another job. So it's kind of hard to give you any one particular team rather than just kind of a group of 4 or 5 that you're looking out for.
Yeah, I really like Heartline at South Florida, but they obviously lost
so much.
It's really hard to rebuild your offense when just about every one of your players is now at Auburn. But I feel like Brian Hartline is one of the next big up and coming guys, and I think he's going to figure it out some way somehow. I was about to say down at South Florida. How about right here in Tampa at South Florida? Brian Hartline's going to figure it out, but I don't know. I mean that's the thing. I mean, all those teams have lost their coaches, and so they're kind of starting over. And you really don't know. These are those times where it's that somebody kind of comes out of nowhere and has a big season. Somebody like a Troy jumps in there and it's like, oh wow, all right, or UAB.
Not this year. Got some work to do. I don't think they'll be as bad as the Trent Dilfer days, but I don't think they're going back up to 10-2.
All these small schools, just at the end of the day, they're kind of like, because if you have a good season, you put them back to back, somebody's going to come calling for that coach. So you're kind of like, don't get too good, but you want to be good. That's the thing.
And it's such a fascinating phenomenon because, like, let me take South Florida for instance. Let's say that they got an invite to the Big 12 after this year. Hartline goes like 9-3, not enough after year 1 to hire somebody, but a really good start. They get into the Big 12 and he starts doing well. The list of jobs he would then leave for would be cut in half. He'd still leave for a bunch. It's still a very new power program, but just having the conference affiliation, then now I don't need to go to another Big 12 school unless it's like Texas Tech with all the money. I don't need to go to Iowa State now. I'm in the Big 12. And, I don't need to go to Rutgers or Maryland. Why would I do that? That's a tough job. So it's just that affiliation, because I've seen it already with like the UCFs and Cincinnati's and how these programs are, even if they're struggling, they're viewed so much differently, even if they're not doing much compared to these programs that keep finding the right coaches like Tulane does and like James Madison has. And, it's just so – I mean, credit to them. They've done it a couple times. We'll see if they can do it again because, again, Tulane, we keep mentioning them. It wasn't just Summerall. It was Willie Fritz before him. So, Willie Fritz doesn't leave for Houston if Houston's still in the American.
Yep.
And Willie Fritz stayed, I
think a chain reaction of that is from the fact of NIL and the new age of college football of being that it's a business. So patience is not very, spread across this nation anymore because of that. Because people really want to win immediately, especially when you're paying these kids millions of dollars. That's where the clock is already ticking on that person's job at that point. Now back then, where you're not paying these people this much money, and that you're not paying a roster and building out a business that you're getting all these collectives and sponsorships coming for these teams, the pressure is not really there to get a guy out of a spot, because you're like, okay, maybe he can build it up, maybe he can, because then you're looking at the recruiting trail, you're not looking at the transfer portal either. But nowadays, it's that you're looking at how much money you can build up for the transfer portal, how much money you can get for NIL for your recruits and everything. So I feel like that's driven that factor of like these coaches getting fired and then these other coaches getting hired, because they're having to look around. They're having to look around who's being successful where, like, oh, you're doing well here. Well, if you're doing well here, come on. Like it's same way, like just such a business world mindset now when it comes to hiring coaches.
No, absolutely, 100%. All right, let's take our first time out of the program today. We are live SEC Media Days in Tampa 2026, starting to wind down, but we've got a lot for you today, including coming up next. It is Peter Rauterkus, the AL.com beat writer, one of the two AL.com beat writers for Auburn. We're going to chat with Peter about what he saw this week with the Auburn Tigers. This is the Thursday edition of Sports Call on Tiger 95.9.
Sports Call is on the air weekdays from 3 until 6 p.m.
I read a book about this sort of thing once. Are you sure it was a book? Are you sure it wasn't nothing? Oh, yeah.
We're Auburn's first and Auburn's favorite sports talk show.
Weather brought to you by Auburn University Credit Union. Tiger Rewards checking at Auburn University Credit Union gives you the tools to manage your credit, monitor for fraud, telehealth services, loan discounts, and more. Visit myaucu.org for more details. Federally insured by the NCUA, Equal Opportunity Lender.
High temperatures today will be into the low 90s as we again see only about a 20 to 25% chance of shower and thunderstorm activity, particularly in the afternoon hours. Those will drop into the mid-70s overnight. Tomorrow, we see an increased chance of rain, around a 40 to 50% coverage area of showers and thunderstorms persisting throughout the afternoon hours. High temperatures will be in the upper 80s with lows in the low 70s. I'm Ryan Lavoie for your Tiger Communications weather update.
Check out Auburn University Credit Union's 7-month CD special. Get 4.15% APR back on a regular or IRA share certificate, or 4.25% back on a 7-month jumbo and IRA share certificate. Visit myaucu.org or one of our local branches to learn more. Annual percentage rate, $2,500 minimum deposit for regular share certificates, $500 minimum deposit for IRA share certificates. Jumbo rate applies to $100,000 plus deposits. Terms and conditions apply. Rate subject to change. Visit myaucu.org/rates for current information.
Frederick Dean Funeral Home and Crematory is here for you when you need us. With locations in Lee, Chambers, and Tallapoosa counties, serving the people of East Alabama and West Georgia since 1900. A family-owned and operated business, skip the hassle of the big corporate mortuaries. Our kind, compassionate team members are standing by to assist your family in the hardest of times. An on-site crematory, private cemetery, and the choice of facilities makes Frederick Dean unique. Visit us at frederickdean.com.
Hey folks, dinner time just got a whole lot easier. Swing by Waldo's Chicken and Beer on South College Street and grab the family meal deal. We're talking a whole bucket of bird, plus those famous cheesy biscuits, fresh coleslaw, and 2 sides. Go creamy mac and cheese, collards, potato wedges, whatever feeds your flock. And hey, make it a Thursday thing. It's kids' night at Waldo's. Bring the family, hang on the patio, play a little golden tea, while the grown-ups kick back with a frozen Waldo Rita. Good food, happy kids, and a little time to relax. What more could you ask for? Waldo's Chicken and Beer, South College Street in Auburn.
Whether it's enjoying a night in with good friends and close family or having some fun in the great outdoors, don't forget to grab an ice-cold Coca-Cola from one of your 17 local TK's convenience stores. Every sip of an ice-cold, refreshing Coke helps make whatever you are doing memorable. With a variety of options to choose from, TK's has a Coke for every occasion. So stop by any one of your local 17 TK's convenience stores today and pick up an ice-cold Coca-Cola. TK's convenience stores, always there when you need us.
TK's convenience stores have a brand new look. That's right, look for the red, white, and blue. It's Arco, American-owned top-tier gasoline, now at select TK's locations. Need great gas at a great price? TK's and Arco have you covered with the best price gas in town. American-made fuel for you and your family. So roll into your neighborhood TK's today, where TK's and Arco are as American as apple pie.
Hey everybody, I'm Brian Watts, host of the Southeastern Land Show, Realtor and Forester with Southeastern Land Group.
And I'm Kerry Farrington, co-host Southeastern Land Show, Realtor, Georgia Broker with Southeastern Land Group. We'd like to invite you to tune into our radio show, the Southeastern Land Show, every Saturday morning on FM Talk 93.9.
The Southeastern Land Show is a show about topics regarding land, from first-time land buyers to seasoned investors to farmers to entrepreneurs, and we even have special guests. There's a wide variety of topics covered each week that will be informative and entertaining to you. We also have contributors from our Southeastern Land Group team on as well.
That's the Southeastern Land Show every Saturday morning on FM Talk 93.9.
I'm Deshaun Davis, former Auburn Tigers football player and all-SEC linebacker. You're listening to Sports Call on Tiger 95.9.
Welcome back to Sports Call here on Tiger 95.9. Ryan Lavoie, Brooks Childress with you here today from Digital Drive. It's SEC Media Days 2026 in Tampa, and we are now pleased to be joined by Peter Rauderkus here of AL.com. Peter, the time is greatly appreciated. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Now, again, Peter, first time getting you on the show, so appreciate you stopping by today. Again, covering all things Auburn for AL.com. And Peter, just take us back to Tuesday a little bit, and even Monday night with the ambush and Byron Brown and company accompanying Alex Golesh here. Just what have you made of their commentary as we've gone through the week and kind of get their confidence level getting closer and closer to fall practice?
Yeah, I think at SC Media Days for Auburn, things have largely gone as expected. You know, one thing that stood out to me about Alex Golesh since he's been here, anytime he's talked, whether it's, in front of a camera, whether it's a press conference, whether it's just videos we've seen of him talking to the team, he's always very detailed. He comes off as confident, comes off as somebody who knows what he wants to do and is prepared to do it, and I think we saw more of that at SC Media Days this week. It was, when he talked to some people, some of the reporters at Ambush, we saw that. Obviously, when he was on the main stage, we saw that. Electronic media, we saw that. One thing that I thought was interesting was when he was asked about goals in year one, and he talked about how, more of the goal is just setting standards and creating identity for the program. It's no different from, take Hugh Freeze, for example, who I remember at SC Media Days, wasn't his first season saying, we expect to compete for the college football playoff this season. Obviously couldn't deliver. So, yeah, I think, what we saw this week is largely what we've seen from Alex Golesh since he's been at Auburn.
Is there anything that you take away from anything the players said about what type of culture they're building there in Auburn?
Yeah, similar to Alex Golesh, I think it's a lot of what we heard throughout spring practice, a lot of what we heard, kind of in January after he got here. It's, Byron Brown is, I think, been the best one to talk to about that as somebody who's probably knows Golesh better than just about anybody else on the team. I mean, he's been not only on Golesh's teams for all three of his seasons at USF, but he was the quarterback. He was the extension of Golesh on the field. There's probably nobody who was closer to him. And I think that's a big reason why, whether it's media days, whether it's all these events, Byron Brown has always been kind of the representative to come with Golesh. And I think you talking to him, it kind of reminds me of talking to Golesh a little bit. He's kind of likes to be the same kind of detailed, where he's confident, but he's not necessarily abrasive or cocky either. So yeah, I think it was a good showing from him and the players, and I think it speaks to where and how Golesh wants the culture at Auburn to be.
And when you're looking at Byron Brown, obviously that relationship with Alex Golesh for so many years at South Florida, obviously so many players coming from USF, and you can throw in the top receivers expected to be at Auburn from USF. Talk about Cole Best at center. Where does that leave Auburn's offense in terms of expectations, and kind of how are we quantifying the move from the American Conference into the SEC? But again, knowing that there's a lot of continuity there.
It's interesting, because on one side, offense, huge plus to be able to bring your quarterback with you, be able to bring your center with you. You mentioned Cole Best, and everyone talks about having Byron Brown and having the receivers, but it's a bigger deal that Byron Brown is with the guy who was the starting center last year in an offense that's as unique as the one that Alex Golesh Gordon run. So that's huge. I think the biggest question, though, with that is obviously this offense was really good at USF. The system worked. The American, the SEC, obviously there's going to be a jump there. I think, to a degree, like some of these guys have experience, like Chaz Nimrod, for example, someone that Alex Golesh has said has had a really good summer. He started his career at Tennessee, looked good against SEC competition when they played Florida last year. But I think the question is, week after week, especially someone like Byron Brown likes to run when he's taking hits from SEC players week after week. What's that going to look like, and how is this group going to respond? I think there's, reason to be optimistic, but I think that's still a big question for them to answer.
Peter, have you gotten the sense kind of around me, we've people kind of in us operating in optimism, there's going to be new. I feel like